Hello, welcome back to the Saga of the Clone Saga, aka the Clone Zone. This is a podcast presented by the students of S.H.I.E.L.D. in which we read through the entirety of the infamous 1990s Spider-Man Clone Saga and hate ourselves for it. But I guess we're having some fun. I'm Matt.
I'm Mike.
And I am Vincent.
And you know, Matt, it's a good thing that you mentioned fun because there was a little game that came out last Friday called Marvel's Spider-Man.
I've heard some rumors, yeah.
And, well, I should preface by saying, so I got it on the Friday it came out. I started playing it at 8:30 at night, and then I checked my watch, and it was 4:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I can say I'm enjoying it, but it's not without its connections to this Clone Saga, which just it fails to escape us in any kind of way possible. Because the first web upgrade you get in the game is impact webbing.
Oh, we love that.
One of the first suits you can unlock. And there's a side mission where Spider-Man's approached by some guy going, "Hey, thanks for saving my daughter." And he's like, "I wasn't there." So I was thinking, oh god, is there clone shit in this game? Thankfully, it was just some guy dressed up as Spider-Man, but I was having some PTSD. So the game is just some little niblets of the Clone Saga sprinkled in there. So once proving that the Clone Saga truly never dies. But Vince, what are we talking about this week?
So today we're talking about the two-issue Backlash Spider-Man miniseries, which doesn't really matter much to the Clone Saga or even to Marvel continuity in general. But this is our second and last intercompany crossover following the DC versus Marvel and Amalgam stuff. So I guess, it's still, he's the Spider-Man. So if you're going to have an intercompany crossover, there's a good chance it's going to be Spider-Man. So Ben got wrapped up in a few of these things.
Yeah, great.
In this one, Spidey is crossing over with the Wildstorm universe, which is Jim Lee's part of Image Comics. And Lee eventually sold Wildstorm to DC in 1999 and then kind of abandoned his own ship and started just working at DC, even though Wildstorm stayed somewhat independent but under the umbrella of DC for the next decade. So Spidey is teaming up with Backlash. Backlash is Mark Slayton, and the book details some of this. He is an amnesiac 3,000-year-old ninja with an energy whip, and he's half Cherubim, which is in the Wildstorm history, there are these two ancient races that kind of battle for supremacy of Earth behind the scenes, like Cherubim, however you pronounce them. They're kind of they're sort of supposed to be kind of influenced by angels. And then the others, which I can't remember, the Daemonites are demons kind of. And basically almost every character in the Wildstorm universe is a halfling of one of these stupid races. And so Backlash, he was involved with Team 0 and Team 7, which are both kind of a little backstory continuity inserts for the history of Wildstorm. And then his present day main thing is that he was an instructor, quasi-member of Stormwatch, which was one of the flagships alongside Wildcats. And he also had his own series, which lasted over 30 issues. And his ongoing series had the same creative team as this mini. And eventually, years later, in the late 2000s, his daughter becomes another Backlash. And his daughter is very briefly mentioned in this series. So just two issues here. Issue 1, we have our glorious creative team. We have Sean Ruffner. I assume he's just doing the script. I don't really know who he is. And if I've never heard of a comic book writer who's written something after the 70s, then that's not a good sign. And Brett Booth draws the book, but I believe he gets some kind of writing credit, so I think he's plotting it. And in fact, while we're talking creative team, were there credits in these issues? I may have just missed them. They may have snuck them in at the very end.
I totally did not see them.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah, their last names are on the covers, but I don't remember seeing the actual credits at all.
Well, traditionally with Image books around this time, the credits page was like a page by itself.
Oh,
Open, remember?
yeah. The digital copies might not have them. Yeah, Mike's right. A lot of the Image books, the credits page was basically the inside of the front cover.
Okay.
Back. No, I don't have anything super close enough. No, wait. Give me just vamp.
So, Mike, he mentioned, I don't know if you'll know this, he mentioned that Backlash is somehow connected to Stormwatch. Is it the same Stormwatch as in Martian Manhunter Stormwatch?
No, that's 52.
Well, I know, but is it the same idea?
Kind of.
Loosely.
Midnighter and Apollo, because Midnighter and Apollo are there.
It's the same property.
Yeah.
So here's an example. This is A Touch of Silver. This is a Jim Valentino, like, sort of autobio book. Not really representative of the kind of Image book we're reading today, but you'll see here's the front cover, and then inside are story title and the credits.
Okay.
There's your quick example. So this first issue has a wraparound cover of all the characters just pointlessly standing off against each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like before we even get into the actual book, just based on the cover, and we'll get more into the art in general probably when we're done. But I kind of like Brett Booth's Venom. I mean, I don't like it.
You're a good Venom.
It's decent, especially in a 90s style. And it's interesting because it's more McFarlane-esque, like more of just a hulking figure than Larson or Bagley. Like there's not really any tongue action or saliva in this story at all.
Yeah, and I really like that. I like how he draws Venom. I don't like how he draws anything else.
Yep.
Ever.
Well, I'd say Brett Booth is a guy who's still consistently getting work. He drew part of New 52 Titans and Nightwing for a period. I'm pretty sure he did Teen Titans.
Yeah.
I know he definitely did part of Nightwing. I can't remember what he was drawing in Rebirth, but
it was Dan
Titans.
Titans.
Yeah.
Oh, he was just doing Titans.
Yeah.
That book looked fine. I mean, this is like in an era, clearly 90s, where everyone wants to be Jim Lee. He's very Jim Lee heavy here, I feel, in his style.
All right, let's just dive into Booth now. I'm not a big fan of him. I don't like his Titans work, but he's a lot rougher back then, and I think I prefer his newer stuff. It's a little cleaner. But as far as his style, he's definitely imitating Jim Lee, but I also see bits of McFarlane.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird mix, and like I don't necessarily see Lee and McFarlane as having super similar styles, even though they're obviously associated because of Image and everything like that, and they have similar tendencies with detail.
I think honestly, his figures look mostly fine. It's his faces that are always kind of jarring.
Yeah,
because it gives them like anime eyes.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's multiple levels because he does this ridiculous, excessive cross-hatching on skin, and it's especially weird on faces. And that's a thing. I mean, Jim Lee did it too, and Eric Larson. Really, that was the style in the '90s. But I associate that a lot with Todd McFarlane. And even at the peak of some of Todd McFarlane's stuff, like on Hulk and then early Amazing Spider-Man, like some of the faces when I look at them, I'm like, these are not humans. And let alone if you have any character that is not supposed to just be normal ass Peter Parker. If, like, God forbid, Aunt May, Tom McFarlane's Aunt May just makes me frightened.
Yeah. I think his art failed to have any real distinctive qualities. It's an amalgamation of everything that was going on at the time, and as such, it doesn't stand out at all. It seems to me as pretty generic '90s artwork, and I don't care for it.
Yeah,
you know, like say what you will about Eric Larson. I'm not a fan, but his style is distinct. You know, you see something he drew, and you know it's him. This could be anyone.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's especially when we get into what the hell that there's it's Deadpool. There's a Deadpool ripoff in the book. Pike, yeah, who's a straight Deadpool ripoff. The only difference is that he has Deadshot's eyepiece on.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like I said, Brett Booth has gotten slightly better over time. I think a lot of his work honestly suffers from whoever's inking and coloring it, though. Especially in the new 52 and with Rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
But he seems like more to me a guy that should be like doing covers or action shots, just because those usually look good. It's his static figures and talking scenes that I think that the problems in his art really show.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's trudge through the actual plot here.
Yeah. So.
We kick off with Spidey stopping a mugging, and even off the bat, like even just the way this mugging is depicted, it's already more like gratuitous and just a little bit more annoying than how you would expect it in an actual Spider-Man comic published by Marvel at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And so he stops this mugging, and then he info dumps us, and he actually talks about the entire like Clone Saga.
But that's like unlike the beginning of every single arc that we read in these books.
Yeah, I mean, I was just slightly surprised. I wasn't sure exactly how much they were going to reference that stuff in this intercompany crossover. And
it's funny how he's credited as the original Spider-Man, though.
That's what I was about to say.
I hate it.
So then this villain guy, Pike, who is a Deadpool ripoff, and across all of the Image studios, they all had Deadpool ripoffs. They all had Wolverine ripoffs. They all had a Hulk ripoff. So Pike is the Wildstorm Deadpool. In fact, I think there's more than one Wildstorm Deadpool.
Oh, there's so much more than Wildstorm Deadpool.
When he shows up in this first panel here, I thought, oh, cool. It's Deadpool. We haven't seen Deadpool yet in the Clone Saga, but it's actually not, and I'm kind of really disappointed.
Yeah. And
do a whole separate video of sometime of the top 10 Deadpool ripoffs.
Yeah.
Pike is looking for Taboo, which we'll get to in a second. And then Venom almost kills Pike. And I thought it was kind of interesting because, this is a crossover. So they're trying to, for the Marvel fans, they're trying to show, hey, look, this Image crap is cool and vice versa. And Venom, at least in this initial scene, just makes Pike look like a bitch. He very clearly could have just murdered him with no effort. But they decide to team up because Venom somehow thinks that Taboo has a symbiote, because she kind of does. I don't fully understand her powers, and I didn't bother to dig deeper. But Venom thinks it's related. It's another Spawn from Carnage, similar to all the little shitheads. And Backlash and Taboo are in New York for something. I wasn't ever fully clear why they were there.
I don't know.
It's not like they're looking for themselves. I don't understand. I don't know. They were looking for something, but then I don't think we ever actually get back to that.
No, I don't think so.
And while we're moving along and getting introduced to all these new characters, Wildstorm, they use lots of made-up words and stuff. And it's not when you actually think about it, it's not that much different from Marvel and DC and other kinds of fiction. It's just obviously, since we're coming at this from the Marvel perspective for the most part, it's like Psi this and Cherubim that and the Cabal this. And it's like there's not really that much context for it in this series.
No, I have no basis for what they're talking about at all. So it's all white noise.
Yeah. So we finally get back to Ben Reilly, and we learn that he's a fan of the Pet Tricks segments on David Letterman's show. But first of all, so does he have a TV again now? Because I thought that wasn't a thing. This might be a continuity error.
Yeah, I guess it's probably continuity error.
Oh wait, no. I think he has a TV. The one Jessica gave him, and he's also. We can do our little Spider-Man Fashion Police segment. He's wearing a Fantastic Four, maybe a quarter zip sweater.
I don't know what that is. It looks like a long john undershirt is what it looks like.
Yeah, it looks pretty sheer, but then it has these bulky cuffs. And I can't tell if it's a full-on collar or what. It doesn't matter. And then
can you just
have 3 buttons, which is interesting.
Can you just buy Fantastic Four merch in the Marvel universe?
Yeah,
because that's kind of cool.
I'm not sure about that either.
You read Wade and Warango's run, right?
Yeah.
There's a scene where Johnny has to take over the business merchandising, and they show like the shop and stuff inside the Baxter Building.
I would love to go to the Baxter Building's gift shop.
Buy a RC Herbie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Ben literally walks into Venom and Taboo fighting, and somehow he just easily wins the fight and trashes Venom, but like the action is terrible, so I have no idea what happened. Then Pike shows up and pushes a stroller in front of a bus. So Spidey has to save the day and everyone gets away.
Which is unintentionally hilarious.
Well, it's made worse because this baby, the way Brett Booth draws it when Spidey like finally saved it and is holding it, has these really awful, fucked up alien eyes.
Yeah.
And I was waiting
a monster.
I was waiting for that to be a stupid plot thing. Like, oh, this is a alien Wildstorm shit too.
The baby's scarier than Venom.
And then Backlash, well, Mark Slayton in his civilian identity comes across Ben back in his civilian identity, and Ben like pushes him away from some symbiote goop, and then they come across each other later back in their costumes, so they have a misunderstanding fight, which the only highlight here, and it's a cringe highlight, is Ben Reilly making a joke about consent.
Yeah, it's not very good.
Yeah. Then they team up together and they're going to track down Venom and Taboo or whatever. But first they have to go listen to some gobbledygook from some technicians. And the end of this issue, Pike and Venom have Taboo prisoner. Not really any cliffhanger or anything. It's just like, all right, it's over.
Right.
You don't always.
And why exactly they have her prisoner is not clear to me and never becomes so.
Well, Pike wants her dead.
Cartoon.
Pike wants her dead for some reason, and Venom thinks she's a Carnage spawn.
Right. Sure.
All right, issue 2. After we don't see much of it, but Venom clearly gropes the shit out of Taboo with his tentacles, and
yeah,
since he does this, he realizes that she is some kind of symbiote, but not his kind.
I can't wait to see that scene in the Venom movie.
And so Venom goes back and forth on who he's mad at, because Pike lied to him, and he's not really supposed to kill innocents. But then they kind of just keep hanging out for some reason.
Yeah.
And the dumb technician's dialogue, we learn that there's some worry about the Venom symbiote bonding with Taboo, or maybe Taboo symbiote bonding with Venom. I'm pretty certain that's what they were talking about, but neither of those actually happens. Something else happens in the end. Or
right, which I'm excited to get into.
Okay, yeah. So then Pike beats up Taboo a bit. You know, I love to see like 2 pages of a man just punching a bound woman in the face.
But entirely off panel. You see like splashes of blood, but you never see him make contact with her. And I wonder if that was if that was like a direction from Marvel, or
maybe
it seems like a really weird choice.
I mean, that's weird choices that they didn't go with. I was like waiting, and my screen was crawling for him to like kiss her at the end.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't go there. And then the heroes bust in, and the fight starts, and in that moment we get one 90s tacular splash page, which was another rare highlight. Not really, but it was kind of attractive.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of neat.
Everyone's in costumes, so there's no creepy alien eyes. There's no cross-hatched faces. And so then the fight proceeds, and something happens in the fight. Venom switches sides. And I guess Venom is just leaking this entire time, because then Pike bonds to part of the Venom symbiote. And then going back to the technician stuff, I wasn't sure. I don't know, because maybe he also has part of whatever Taboo's thing is. I don't know, but he basically turns into Venom with like a kind of basically like a Wildstorm logo instead of the spider, or should I say dragon?
Dragon? Wait, what?
That's the Donny Cates thing. Venom's logo is not a spider; it's a dragon.
Wait. What? What do you? What?
Yeah.
In Donny Cates Venom, the logo on Venom's chest
It's a dragon
is not a spider; it's actually a dragon.
that looks like a spider.
Yes.
That has nothing to do with Spider-Man.
Yep. Basically, the symbiote's powers no longer have anything to do with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's
Which kind of it is a. I mean, if we want to, I like that first issue, but that's a retcon where I'm just like, you're deviating too far.
That's stupid.
and Venom has wings now, by the way.
Oh yeah, he has like huge dragon wings.
Okay.
Dragon bat wings.
But
All right.
back to this book.
Yeah, let's do that instead.
We're at least sticking to some Venom lore because they've been fighting this whole time in a church. So of course they run up to the bell tower.
Right. As soon as they said they were in a church, I knew this was going to happen.
Pike has no idea what he's doing, so he's like, "Oh, I'll follow you guys. Why are you running up there?" And then they ring the bell, and then Taboo gets taken hostage again for like the third time in this series. Did we see her powers ever in this series? I don't know what she does.
I have no idea what her powers are.
And Pike has her hostage and has some kind of like bomb, and he's threatening to explode it. And then like Venom pushes them off, and then Spidey catches her, and then they're like, "We'll save you both." And then Backlash uses his little stun whip thing. He's kind of like Samus, Zero Suit Samus. That's what it reminds me of. And pushes, somehow is able to push Pike off of the like Spidey's web, but he doesn't drag Taboo down with him. And the bomb goes loose, but it still goes up. It still blows up too close to them all. So there's the moment where explosion in the background, everyone's falling. And then it's basically over. Pike disappears, and the two halves of the crossover separate. And the final panel is Ben asking, like, whether he'll ever see these people again. The answer is
he's talking to a spider for some reason.
Yep. Well, he's been known to do that very, very rarely.
Talk to spiders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's basically it. So, again, the creative team of this miniseries was the same creative team as the Backlash ongoing, which at this point is up to around issue 20 or 22.
Jesus Christ.
Would you guys be interested at the time in reading Backlash?
No.
No. I really don't think so.
Yep, me neither. Any final thoughts?
I had a little bit of fun with this, I guess. It was a neat little distraction.
Yeah, kind of very Saturday morning cartoon-esque, and like it's only 2 issues, so it doesn't feel like I want to rip my eyes out and put it in a blender afterward. That's always good.
If it was even 1 issue longer, I think I would have hated it. As it's like, fine, I guess. We're doing this now.
Did you notice that, like, at least for me, these read noticeably faster? Yeah.
Well, they read faster for me because I was skipping occasional things because I just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yep.
There was like surface level. I would never, ever, ever pay for these issues or anything like that. But like surface level enjoyment, flipping through. Oh, there's a splash page. Oh, here's a Deadpool knockoff. Oh, this Venom's not too bad.
Yeah. That's about what it amounts to.
All the writing, the plot, I don't give a fuck. If you're interested in exploring other Wildstorm stuff that maybe arguably is half decent, go check out the Wildcats review that Mike and I did.
Yeah, we read we read the first 5 issues. We got what issues 0 through 4.
Yep.
Yeah, we did that about coming up on a year ago. So.
And those were actually Jim Lee, not a sad late night mid '90s
I
ripoff.
will say, if you go back and listen to that podcast, us talking about Jim Lee is much more interesting than us talking about Wildcats. So you might learn something there if you like Jim Lee. But yeah, go listen to that one because it was pretty fun to record. And maybe we have expressed interest maybe in the future of doing Wildcats 3.0 and like Alan Moore's or James Robinson's run down the line if we ever actually want to do it. But
Yep.
Wild.
Mike and I.
Okay.
I don't know who else.
Yeah, I'm assuming it'll just be us because we're the only two people here that give a shit about Wildcats.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for the possible Wildcats cast. Thank you for watching this episode.
Wait. If we do that, do we have to read all the new 52 issues of Grifter?
No. Next episode is kind of another grab bag as the Clone Saga is just continuing to stall. But we will be following the subplot of Peter being sick or something. We'll have more mob stuff. The Lizard is going to show up. Scorpion is going to show up. And
villains. We're having villains show up. I'm happy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Power Man and Iron Fist. I wonder what they're like in 1996.
Probably not good.
I'm excited. I cannot wait.
I'm trepidatious on that.
What, 90s Luke Cage? That's gonna be lit.
At least it's not Luke Cage Noir. or just Luke Cage by Brian Azzarello.
All right, so we'll catch you on the next episode, and thanks for watching again. Peace.